Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be installing the security system. This is a long overdue video. You guys have been requesting me for over a year at this point to install a security system. Ever since I've had fire alarm system, access control system, you guys have always wanted me to have security systems. So today has finally came that I have got a security system. Now first I'm going to go over what I've actually done in preparation for the security system, because I've done some more boring stuff like installing door contacts and running wires off camera. Oh yeah, one last thing, because I know you guys are going to ask, the brand of system I've gone with is DSC, and I've ordered a DSC Neo panel, 8 zone expandable to 64 zone. I can't remember the model number of that, and I have some other devices on the way that I will show you the installation process. So first I'm going to show you what I've already installed as far as running wire and installing some door and window contacts. At the front door here, I have some wire and a door contact. Runs up there. On the garage door, I have a contact and some wire ran for that. I have some wire ran into the fire alarm panel, which I will show in a bit. I have a contact on the window and some wire ran up the ceiling. Now this one I did wire up, but I'm gonna have to redo it because I haven't added in a resistor yet. So I still need to add my end of line resistor to right there. I have wire pulled for a PIR sensor or a motion sensor, which will be a ceiling mount device right there, because I think that will cover the area pretty well. I have wire ran right here for a keypad. This I am going to fish down the wall though, because I want the keypad to be flush mount in the wall, or not have, mostly just I don't want to have a cable running down the wall. It's okay for spots like right there where it won't be super visible, but for right here where it comes down to a lower level, I do want to have that recessed in the wall. Now the siren, I think I'm going to be installing that pretty close proximity to the panel, but I haven't completely decided exactly where the panel is going to be and exactly where I want the siren. I have to look at how that siren mounts first, and then I will decide how that's going to work. Now our security panel itself, I have all the wires ran down in here in my little room I've added. Now I believe I have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I would have liked to have had our panel over here in what I kind of call my electrical section over here, just because this is where I have everything like access control panel, fire alarm panel, electrical panel obviously. So I kind of like having everything in this one corner. But stupid me, in one of my last videos, if you would have watched my bring dedicated circuits, I installed 2 more dedicated circuits and a whole bunch of spares up to this box here. I brought a new dedicated circuit to the fire alarm panel, which I went out of this 4x11/16 box with some 1/2-inch EMT over the panel, so now I don't have room up there. I was going to put it right over top of the fire alarm panel, but I don't have room there. So it's going to have to go in that little room. Now let's talk about the wire. This stuff is called Station Z. It's 4-conductor 22 gauge, so pretty small, almost as small as networking cable like Cat 5 or Cat 6. Cat 6A might be bigger, I can't remember, but it's called Station Z. So that's all I can tell you about this stuff. It's pretty small, and you can get this in a few colors. I chose white because white is really good, because the walls are white, and if it's on a white wall like this, it blends in better. But the gray would be okay for other locations that you're not worried about it being more hidden. Now for some of you guys like me might be thinking, where's your box for this? Because I come from more of an electrical and fire alarm background, where stuff has to be in boxes. But security, that's not the case. It's low voltage, so it does not have to be in boxes. But you might think fire alarm, why does fire alarm then have to be mounting in back boxes too? And that's because fire alarm is a life safety system, so it needs to be protected and made sure that there's a very low chance of something getting compromised or damaged, because it's actually a life safety system. Security though is not considered a life safety system, though I think it should be, because if someone breaks into your house to get you in the night, well, that's kind of a life safety issue. But it's not considered life safety, so you can make splices mid-air wherever you want. For example, something like that, I'm not sure if you can see where it's kind of fat with that white electrical tape. That would not do, obviously, if it's a 120 volt circuit, or if it's fire alarm, you can't do that. But with security, you can take these little crimps that you can shove some wires in them, and then you can not even have to strip the wire, just pinch these with pliers and it'll pierce into the insulation in the wire because there's little prongs inside there, and you can make splices that way. Now, I said earlier that I ran some wire into the fire alarm panel, so I'll show you the purpose of that. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to take advantage of it completely, but here I had to make another splice right here. Then it goes underneath the batteries, up and into a relay expander I added. Anyways, on the ceiling here, all of our security wires at some point up here meet up and run along into the top of that little room and then go down the wall in there. So for those of you that are wondering about the bathroom and why I don't have a window contact in here, well, I'll explain that. So as some of you may know, there is a window in here, and if this door was closed, that motion sensor up there would not pick up movement in this room. So you might think I should either have a motion or door contact in here. But this window is so small that if somebody is skilled enough to manage to climb their skinny self through this window, they can have in, because I respect you if you can manage to squeeze yourself through this window. If you can make it through that, I'm sorry, but that's not healthy. You need to gain some weight. Plus, this window is pretty much always locked pretty well, so I'm not sure how you could really pry it open. But if somebody did manage to get in there, that's pretty good on their part. Oh yeah, and if I did ever want to add something to that window, or even through my whole house, or basically anywhere up to pretty far away, the DSC Neo has a technology called Power G, which is a wireless transmission signal that you can get devices like contacts for doors, motion sensors, sirens, almost anything that you could have on an analog system or zone system or whatever, however you want to call it, you can have wirelessly done. So the keypad I bought is actually a keypad with Power G built in. You can get basically a transmitter that will hook up to your four terminals that are used for communication to a keypad on your security system, and that can talk to those devices, or you can do what I'm doing and get a keypad that has that built in. So maybe explain that a little bit later or in another video how that kind of works. This is kind of new to me myself. I'm just telling you as much information as I do know, but I'm going to be learning as this goes in. So that's a lot of me talking about the system. Let's actually get into installing it. So let's start with terminating our door and window contacts to our security wire and installing resistors on those. And I'm going to talk about how you install those resistors and how it differs from fire alarm systems. Let's start with this door contact on this door right here. So these door contacts, the ones I have, you can wire them as normally open or normally closed. For my security system, we're going to want normally closed, which is how most security systems will be, where when the door is in the closed position, this circuit will allow the electricity to go through and go back to the panel. So we wire the resistors different than fire alarm. With fire alarm, normally you go across your two wires, but with security system, because it's normally closed, you put it in parallel where the wire will go to the resistor, then the resistor leg to the terminal. You guys will see once I install the resistor how that will look. Oh yeah, the resistors the DSC panels need, I believe it's for all DSC panels, are, if I look here because I can't remember off the top of my head, 5.6k ohms. So those are the resistors. I bought a 100 pack on Amazon for I think about $7, something pretty cheap. Resistors aren't really that much money. Also, with the security systems, you can disable the need to have resistors. You can have it so it won't be supervised, so if the panel doesn't see a resistor, it won't care because it's not actually a life safety system. If there is a break in the wire, it won't matter, other than you would not get an alarm if that contact was opened. So with this contact here, I'm going to first strip back a little bit of the sheathing, and I put some tape on them so I know at both ends of my wire what wire goes to what location to make it easier when I terminate the panel. So I'm just going to put this on the edge of the door right here. Now I'm going to strip this back a little bit. So now we're going to be using our yellow and green wire for right here, so our other two colors. I'm not going to cut them off in case they're ever needed. I'm just going to wrap them around. And now I hope I'm not blocking the camera too much, but so now our green side is a little bit different, which it's actually not going to go right to the terminal because we need to go through our end of line resistor first. So is how we're going to do that is I have one of these low voltage crimps right here. Now these, you don't even need to strip the insulation. There's little teeth in here that will bite down on the wire. I'm going to insert the green wire into the crimp, as well as our leg of the end of line resistor, and then we're just going to take pliers and crimp it down. Now that stays in there now, that won't come back out. Now obviously, since this is just a contact, there's no polarity on it, so it doesn't matter what side we go onto. So I'm going to wrap around our yellow on one of the terminals clockwise. Kind of an awkward spot to tighten it. And then our leg of the resistor will go around our top terminal. I'm just bending it. So now I want to test this contact and make sure it's wired right. So we're going to find that same wire in my room where the panel is going to be located. Here's our wires on the other end, and we know that the red and black won't be doing anything. So we're going to separate these two wires. I had them together on both ends, so I was doing a continuity test so I could find which was what. So now we're going to meter resistance across these two wires right here. So I'm going to take our meter here, I have it set on continuity and resistance. Touch one of our leads to the red, or sorry, the green, and one to the yellow. Not sure if you can see the screen, but we have 5.59 or around 5.6 K ohms of resistance. So now let's open the door and we should see OL. Now we should see open line or OL, whatever that means on the meter. There we go, we have OL, overload, open line, whatever that means. Basically, there's infinite resistance. So we know that contact's wired right. I've got the other door contacts done. So now let's do what's in our fire alarm panel. So now what I've just done in here, the way I've done this is actually improper. I talked to a security system technician, and he said that you actually wire your fire zones or anything to do with fire alarm system just like you do fire alarm. It's normally open and your resistor goes across the terminal, so I will be correcting this, but I'm not quite worried about this yet. So the box just came that has all the components and parts of our system inside. Well, all of them except for the keypad, which I unfortunately couldn't order yet. So let's open this box for this up because that's my shipping address and stuff, so now you creepy creepers start stalking me and stuff, you know. So here we have a Siren. See more about that later. We have our occupancy sensor. We have a battery. It's just as a sealed lead acid battery right here. I believe 4.5 amp hours. Looks like to me, yeah, 4.5 amp hours. So there's that. I've got this guy right here, which is this is the whole phone communicating whatever thing. I'm not going to be using this, I don't think. I've got a lock for the panel right here. And right here is probably our power supply. Now at the bottom of our box, we have our actual alarm panel. Take the door off, and we have some stuff in here. We have our actual board right here, which I'll get into more later. We have an AC light, I guess. That's interesting. This is what would go in that door if you didn't have a lock on it. And I believe this is probably your Tamper switch standoff, which is this guy right here. So, oh yeah, and this board is the 8 zone expandable up to 64. They make, out of the Neo series like this one, you can get it in a 6 zone expandable to 16, an 8 zone expandable to 32, this one the 8 expandable to 64, and an 8 expandable to 128. Now I definitely don't need 64 zones. I mostly got this one because of the fact that with the 8 zone one you are able to, you have a couple more programmable outputs. I believe you have 4 versus 2 or 1 on some of the other ones. So that's why I got the 64 zone model. It's not really for the zones, but some of the other features that you can get with them that I can't remember off the top of my head, but I did have a reason for it. Just can't remember what it was. Here's the model of it, I guess. HS2064. So now in here with the battery connectors, we have our standoffs right here, which I'll show how those end up working. Oh, more stickers. A lot of stickers. So these guys slip in from the back to keep the board from enough away from the metal for it to not short. I've now mounted our panel up on the wall here. Here's the door, so just as a reference, this is where it's located. So now there's actually a big enough gap back here that I can run my Station Z under there. So right now it comes up through the top there, so I'm gonna have to drill a hole through here and through here to be able to get it back through there, but once you bundle it all together, it ends up being pretty small, so that won't be an issue. So I have all my wires coming through this hole, through there, and they go up there, and I'll strap those down later, figure something out. This one's a little bit too short, so I'm gonna have to bring it in and make some splices right there. So I think I'm gonna bring them all into this knockout up here. I've got everything pulled into the panel through this NMD connector, which isn't really the proper thing, I guess, but it works. It's just really to prevent anything from getting snagged and ripped on this the metal panel. So now I'm going to start landing our things on our terminal blocks, and I'm going to come back once we're done, since I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing here, but I will show you once I'm done how it all looks. So I've started wiring our zones, and now to kind of explain how this works, I'm using the green and the yellow for my non-polarized zones, or something that doesn't matter what's positive, what's negative, and I'm just wrapping the red and black around the rest of the wire. And now each one of your yellows, I'm using that as your positive, and that will go to zone 1 and zone 2, zone 3, so on. But every two zones share a common, so that's why we have both grounds, or negatives, sorry, on our common. So that's how it works. So I'll come back once I get some more of them done. I believe I'm now complete all our wiring in the keypad. I've got auxiliary power hooked up to power the PIR sensor. I've got my bell hooked up, though I don't have an alarm on it yet. I've got my black, red, yellow, green on the keypad. And then I don't have any of my programmable outputs used, even though that's kind of the reason I bought the panels, to get the 4 over some of the smaller panels, but maybe someday it will be. And then I've got all my zones hooked up 1 through 6. So I still have 2 more zones. So at this point now, basically I have to hook up our sensor right here, which just has our normally open and common, normally closed common, which I will be using the normally closed. We will put our end of line resistor on here, and I've also got our 12 volts and ground. And then there's also our tamper, which is this tamper switch right here, but I'm not going to be hooking that up, though probably should, but then I'd have to run another wire, and I don't feel like doing that, so maybe someday in the future. And then there's also this little jumper right here that I could unplug, and that will disable the LED, I suppose, because it says LED on off, so I'm assuming on is when that's installed, but I'll leave that on. So basically this is just going to mount to the ceiling, and I'll bring our station Z through probably one of these holes somewhere in here. So now we just need to strip our wires and put them on the correct terminals. I'm going to put our yellow on our normally closed. Put one side of our resistor under the common. Now we'll get a low voltage crimp, our positive and negative. I'm going to run to our 12 volts and ground, and as I said, I'm not going to be hooking up the tamper switch yet. Maybe sometime in the future I will, though. Who knows? Our cover back on. I made those corrections in the fire alarm panel. As you can see now, I have it wired as normally open and have my resistor going across, so it will always see resistance. Same with our alarm relay up here. That's now the same way. So that's all correct now. So now I'm going to drill a hole beside that emergency light for my siren to mount to, which a wire will just come right through the back and into the siren, which I'll show you. So here is our siren. Now this thing can actually do 2 tones. This thing is so loud, it's actually kind of crazy. So there's 3 wires, 1 negative and 2 positives. Now each positive will do a different tone. So I'll hook up our negative, and I'll do one of our tones. Now one is called warble, and one is called steady. That's warble, and here's steady. So we have a little knockout on this guy, which I'm gonna remove right here now. Something I did at the panel, because I thought it might be a good idea, is I've actually doubled up on our wires. I've used all 4. Just because the siren is 500 milliamps, which isn't a lot, but this is only 22 gauge. I believe, maybe 20, I think it's 22 gauge. So not a very big gauge. Oh yeah, it says right there. That focuses, I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's 22 gauge, so not too big, so I thought I'd just double up there. I've got this guy spliced up top here, so now I'm going to tuck everything up here. So now I can just add a screw into the bottom to keep this in place. So I'm going to install our tamper switch now. So this piece of metal, there's this slot in it right here. I'm not going to try and take this out again since it's a little tricky to get in. I need 2 hands. But this can just slip under. It's got an end like this on the other side that slips under. And now we have a hole to screw it into our wood. And this will be the tamper switch, so if someone opens up the panel, they will get a tamper. Now that might only be if the system's armed, or if it's armed that might be an alarm, I'm not sure. I've screwed this in, so now I'm going to install our tamper switch, which just has had a threaded nut on that side, and you install another threaded nut on this side, and you can adjust the height. But I think where that is right now is pretty good. So this tamper switch, I believe I just wired this to a zone, so I'll use zone 7. And then after that I'll have 1 zone left, but if I ever need more, I can get you can get expansion boards, which I think come in sizes of 8. So I could give me then 16 zones. I've put the door on, I've put on some labels, security alarm system, do not disconnect power. New battery, January 2021. I'm not sure how long this video is so far, and I am notorious for accidentally making videos way longer than I intended, so I'm going to cut this one here and have a separate video of doing the line voltage electrical. This is all the low voltage part of the security system, and now I'll do our receptacle, and that will be a new video. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, like the video, leave any comments down below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.